Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean and I need sleep.
I'm Apocalyptic Anthony.
I'm Johnny Jonardon.
I'm still just Missy.
And I'm Raven Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. This is as good as it's going to get, and it's not going to get this good again for me because I am so tired. So,
You're gonna be punchy tonight, Drew.
yeah, I
It's gonna
am.
be great.
What I was literally, as I'm saying my name, I'm like, which sub show are we doing? I have no idea how to introduce this. I've gotten lost in my own sub branding. We are not sub branding. This is a Horror Vision. We're here to talk about fucking Predator, Killer of Killers. And honestly, Prey's great, and I like some of the elements of the other Predator movies. But why did we have to wait 40 fucking years for a amazing fucking sequel that made me want to stand up and put my fist through the wall?
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know, guys. Talk about because I'm just going to be pops and sparkles for most of the night. So please, anybody, take it away. Talk about Predator, Killer of Killers.
Yeah, here we are. We're recording on June 10th, and it is the eve of the 38th anniversary of the first Predator film. And that's a pretty cool feat because I know a lot of us grew up with this movie. We love it. We can recite it back and forth. We have pretended to look in the mirror and tell each other, "You son of a bitch." I know we've all done that. But yeah, so we've got this new flick that just came out. Same director, Trachtenberg. Is it Trachtenberg?
It's actually two directors. I didn't realize this until I saw some offhand comment. Um, it's Dan Trachtenberg who did Prey, right? And really seems to be like the godsend for Predator. Like finally, I think somebody understands. But it's also a gentleman named Joshua Wasung, who is primarily a visual effects guy. He's been attached to so many movies of high end, like whether you like him or not, like Revenge of the Sith, a bunch of Marvel stuff, Narnia, fucking all, like high end. So those are the two directors.
I wonder if he worked on Mac and Me or Tron.
I see you judging this gentleman.
Yes,
You're
yes.
like, yeah, you can take your little list, your little resume, sir. I don't see Mac and Me. I don't see Tron. Kick rocks, bitch. Right?
We talked about this a couple episodes back that there were going to be two new Predator films in 2025. So we have this one that just dropped on Hulu a couple days ago, and we still have Badlands coming out in November, and that's a live action film.
Which will be in theaters this time, thank God.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this is something we're all looking forward to. I mean, it's going to be under the Disney banner, but it's something I'm still looking forward to. I've followed Predators, their Instagram since back when that film came out, and the site or the page itself has altered itself over time as the new films have come out, and then one day it just turns into it starts plugging the animated film, and I'm like, oh shit, we finally have information on it, which is fantastic, and I was excited to share that with you guys. And here we are. This thing fucking dropped on the 6th of June. What did you guys think? Missy, tell us some initial thoughts on this movie.
Okay. I'm not sure what I was expecting with Predator, Killer, or Killers, but it was better than I expected it to be. I had slightly lower expectations because everybody flipped their shit over Prey, and I think that one's just okay. I mean, it's not bad, but the protagonist, she's not a warrior. She just kind of gets lucky. I love that this is an anthology story, and all three stories are really good. Like that never happens with anthologies. And the characters are all fun. They're these badass warriors, so you get these awesome fight sequences. It's beautifully animated. It's super gory and bloody and brutal and deeply immersive. And we got Michael Biehn as one of the voices. So now he's the third actor to be in a Terminator, Alien, and Predator movie.
Mm.
I had a blast and it made me feel 11 again.
Fucking A. John, how about yourself?
Okay, so I mean, some of the listeners may know that I do a podcast called Moving Histories, and that I'm not saying that as a plug. Okay, maybe a little bit, but it kind of, when I was watching this film, I felt like my Moving Histories world and my horror vision worlds collided and exploded into like a beautiful supernova. And also, people who know me quite well also know that I'm a huge fan of what are known as Chanbara films. So, which, for the uninitiated, those are Japanese period pieces that feature scenes of intense sword play. So, naturally, it was the Kenji and Kiyoshi story that I knew I was going to like the most, and I did. And I and while I mean, we can get into spoilers, we can get into some nitpickiness that I have with this film, but by and large, I loved it. And in many ways, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Animatrix, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah, for sure.
Ray, hit us.
I didn't go in with a lot of expectation, but I really dug this. I liked Spray a lot. I thought it was really good, and I thought it was really solid. It was one of the better Predator sequels that I've seen, and this holds up so well. The animation is so good in it. It's so beautiful, and like the lines are great, and it looks so fluid. It's so well done. Plus, it is like Missy said, it's really gory. It's really violent. It's got a lot of great action. It doesn't do this thing where, like, sometimes happens with animated movies where it goes unrealistic in how it's going to depict the action, like big explosions that, or like things that look like, lack of a better word, cartoony. It makes it seem like it's just a movie that's just been animated.
I totally forgot I was watching a cartoon multiple times.
Exactly. It just looks really good, and like the voice acting is spectacular. I don't think I have a pick out of like any one sequence, but I liked all of them. The Japanese swordsman, I mean the two brothers, that's a really good sequence. I mean, there's pathos in that one. There's pathos in the Viking sequence. That's amazing too. Like just I mean, it's so short, but they give this background for for these characters, and like they do it in a great way, and it shows what you can do with storytelling if you craft it well and you don't need an hour and a half. You can get out a good story in 30 minutes and go, here you go. If you keep it tight, you focus on your characters. And the amazing thing is, on the Japanese one, there's hardly any talking. There's hardly any talking. They're conveying it all visually, but it does it so well. Like we get it. They're brothers. We understand what the conflict is. You know, we get so much from it visually without having to have the like dialogue spoon fed to us. Like it's just so well done. And I really liked it. I was very impressed by it. I mean, if they made more animated movies based off of things like this, or even another Predator, I would check it out. I kind of am hoping that there will be another one. Like there's a follow-up to Killer of Killers.
John, 2 cents in the jar. Give it to us.
Like I said, I don't love animation. I don't know when that broke for me. I love Cowboy Bebop, but it's the work that transcends the genre. And I like, like Transformers '86. And there's a few other things I found over the years, but by and large, animation alienates me immediately, and I don't generally take to it or even bother with it. Again, I forgot that I was watching. Especially so for me, the first segment was my absolute favorite. I watched it twice, not because like I watched the whole movie and then went back and just watched that, but I started the movie, watched the first thing, got interrupted, and then started over again. And I did that because I thought the choreography and it was just it literally blew my mind. It was unbelievable. I love the Japanese one, and I feel like the lack of dialogue and the brothers it's not the purview of this show, but I'm just throwing it out there for anyone that knows. I saw serious Larry Hama, G.I. Joe 26 and 27, Soft Master, Blind Master influence in that, and that made me giggle like a little schoolgirl. The third segment, didn't like the animation very much. It was the most CG, where I think the first segment that was Nordic, like, I mean, I just forgot that it was a cartoon. It just fooled me. The second one was more classical animation. The third one was more like modern CG, kind of computer animated. So I thought it was going to lose me, but it had Torres' story had so much fucking heart that it didn't matter. It did not matter, and so I love the whole thing, and yeah, I just loved it.
I myself, same thing. I loved it. Me being a big Predator fan, longtime reader of the comic books and, extended universe stuff, novels and, novelizations, things like that. This was just right up my alley. And I feel like it was a love letter to a lot of the people that were initiated in, already by all this, expanded lore. So I was really happy to go into it, start, pointing out all the things that I really liked. Um, there's a ton of it, and we are going to do spoilers tonight. So again, you hear the chainsaw. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If not, hang out. You know what to do. So, but beyond that, I really enjoyed the film. The animation style was cool. I kind of like that stutter, in movements, with how it operated. It kind of messes with your mind when you're doing it, when you're watching it. I did like that quite a bit. I do agree that the third segment was a little off, and because the first two were quote unquote grounded, it seemed like you're more engaged with it because it's more personalized opposed to being in a plane, um, and having dog fights. But dog fights are cool. The fourth segment, the final, the end to the wraparound, that fucking took the cake for me. That just adds onto all the stackable lore that is built up over the decades, and goddamn how it ends is fantastic. There's a great little stinger. We're going to get into that a little later on, but in the interim, let's cue the chainsaw. Here we are, starting the film off. We're following Ursa, and she's on a quest for revenge. She's out to kill the person who killed her father. There's goddamn. There is
Einer.
Einer. Is it Einer?
Yeah, Einer.
Einer. Yeah. I'm not. I'm not sure what's going on. I guess he was a warlord or something. But
Yeah.
that's basically the premise of that segment and her journey onto revenge. And the whole time she's being stalked by a predator, or that group anyways being stalked by a predator. And this Yaoja is fucking huge. He's like 10 to 12 feet tall. And it's this one is kind of akin to the one that was in The Predator, where very minimal body armor. He looks, altered by genetics, and he's missing an arm. He's got this crazy like plasma thing caster on his arm. Um, but this thing shows up after all this incredible gore. Guys, let's talk about some of the nastiest stuff that happens in this segment. And in my opinion, as an introduction to all these stories, is probably the best. My personal opinion, I do love the Japanese segment. It's fantastic. Missy, give us some thoughts.
I mean, all the segments are great, but I like the Ursa stuff the best too. Any Anytime they show any of her fight sequences, they're badass. And I really love how in the in her story, in the first part of the movie, she's a shield maiden and she's got dual shields that have like I think a sharp edge whenever she's trying to protect people. Later on, she's using an axe, and by the end of the story, she gets her shields back and is trying to protect people she cares about again. And I thought that was a really cool development of that character.
John, what'd you think about this segment in particular? Any standout moments?
Okay, so there's so many things that now I just want to kind of elaborate on with this segment, but just one thing in particular was that like how much they harness the ability of paintings and painted genres to put you in the thick of battle. And like it was like so much that like I like there that scene where we're just kind of have that we're following Ursa like in just into the fray where she's just slashing people right and left and like using her shield to like just smash heads was just like I found myself singing that old Nordic song my mother told me while that was all happening. And anyone who knows that song and knows what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. And it reminded me of like it was so good that it reminded me of what modern day war films used to have but are missing now. And that's not to say that film I like films that glorify war or that films should uh, but as sort of a vehicle to confront harsh realities of gritty combat and really bringing the past to life. This film understands it and conveys it in animated form, and it came through. Even though the Japanese segment, as I said, is my favorite, this film was the strongest as far as like actual gritty combat and just sort of that corporeal sense of the past haunting us.
Well said.
Well said. Ray, what did you like about the segment? What did you not like about the segment?
Uh, I mean, I like the segment for a large. I mean, by and large, like I think one of the things that struck me when I was watching was I love the fact that it's a female lead. That's actually a point for the film that I loved the most was the fact that the three killer of killers, the three people that are pulled and eventually made it to the end are a a woman, a Japanese swordsman or ninja. I don't know what you want to call him.
Shinobi.
Shinobi, thank you, and a Mexican pilot from World War II. And I was like, wow, I mean, I don't know if that was intentional or if it was accidental, but it's neat that it's a pretty diverse cast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the diverse cast that makes it. It's the diverse characters that make it. Like, she's the leader of this group. She's the one that is going out for blood. Like, and she's respected. Like, they fear her, they respect her. Her grandson's trying to rise to the occasion, but she just has more of a commitment to it because of what she experienced. She saw her father murdered in front of her, or kind of accidentally orchestrated as part of it. But I mean, I love that about it. I thought it was neat the way that there's another female warrior in there, and she's fighting with fucking antlers.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What an amazing weapon!
With Braveheart
Fucking
style.
antlers. That's neat. There's so much that's cool in this section. Like if you pay attention to the characters and the weapons they're using, it's like I don't know. It almost has like a video game quality and that everyone has a different weapon and their mastering of it. But it's oh man, it's good. And I love the organic way that all the characters, especially in this one, are like she figures out like that why I can't see her. Like she's stuck underwater. It's right there on top of her, on top of the ice, and it can't see her because of the cold. And she gets it. Like she doesn't need to like spend 20 minutes figuring it out. She gets it, and she exploits that weakness. I don't know, it's just really entertaining. The action is pretty good in this one, and plus just the diversity of the action. We have like we don't just have her, we have the rest of her group and the weapons they use, how they fight, and just like I said, that pathos of it. I mean, she's got that. grandson who's fighting with her, and then he helps her, but he dies in the end. And oh man, it's a rough moment for her. It's an amazing moment because she's gotten to this point where she got her revenge, but look at the cost. And
Yeah.
it's great. I love that little twist of the knife on that. That was really well done. So,
Sean, you watched this segment 2 times. I know you got something to say about it.
Number one, the ship graveyard. Love that image, but specifically with the action. So as John said, we follow her into the fray, and the doors are closing. She lodges a shield, so the doors stop, goes under it, fights, throws somebody backwards, and they hit the shield so that the top of their fucking head, comes off and slides across it. And then she removes it again, and just her ability with those two, oh my god, I'm unfamiliar with like that as a fighting, obviously, like you've got Captain America, or I'm sure there's another analog from my childhood, like He-Man, maybe, I don't know, but it's not the same thing. Those are like defensive, and they could throw them and whatnot, but this is like these motherfuckers cut people up. I just thought the animation, again, I forgot that I was watching animation. Says it all.
I love that shield, how it's a direct reference to the bladed shield that the feral predator uses in Prey. Um,
Oh,
I really, really like this segment. I like that Ursa is just the ultimate badass. I mean, you watch her go in, she fucking handles business wherever she goes. She's merciless. But again, it's this the theme of revenge, and she's forced to basically kill her father, and the last thing he says is "avenge me," and smears his blood on her face. And you see her going into battle now with marked, and then she's also done it to her son. By the end of this fight, and when he dies in her arms, basically, the last thing that she deals with is the grief of losing her son, but also the overwhelming sensations and feelings that she's going through, because now the circle is complete, and you see her taking the ice and rubbing it across her son's eyes, taking the blood off, basically closing the circle. um I really dug that. And I mean, the way the predator ends up fucking doing his own self in, and how she's able to outsmart him. That's the one thing I kind of was a little thrown off by, but then I understood that the Predator is basically acting on hubris. That's why he's unarmored. That's why he doesn't have, weaponry and stuff like that, or advanced weaponry anyway, other than a blaster, which takes time for him to cock back, reload, and fire again. Um, and I just like that he's outsmarted, and in the coolest fucking way, with it, like
yeah.
an anchor from a ship drops his ass in the ocean. Again, Predator's going down. It looks much like the scene from Alien versus Predator when they tie an anchor around the queen and drag her down into the Arctic. Again, there's all these little instances that reference comics and other films, and yeah, this scene was just, or this entire segment was fantastic. However, now we're gonna move into the second segment. John, I would like you to start us off on this. Tell us all about it. Give us everything, man.
Okay, well, this segment largely takes place during my favorite Chanbara film setting. My favorite Chanbara film of all time, as people know, is Harakiri, directed by Misaki Kobayashi. And this is really where like my love of historical films really kind of comes in as well, because they're not really so much about the past as they are about the present, and they use the present to uh, help us reveal things about the present that we wouldn't normally see. And in this case, you have what is essentially a very, very strict regimented caste system under the Edo period that just really trains people from like cradle to the grave to stay in their lane. And you have these two people that were sort of destined to be samurai and going off in different directions, like really kind of having this sort of commentary on the mindset that the film is all about, Killer of Killers. And it was really in that moment that it made me realize I actually don't dislike Predator 2 as much as other people say, because the Predator series, I mean, with the exception of the plausible exception of the first one, and we'll get into why later. Um, they're all about the past. They're all backwards thinking in that regard. And they're all about, like who we are as really shitty human beings historically. Whereas, Alien is all has been, speculative fiction, it's all about cosmic dread. And so that's really, that really first comes out in Predator 2. Prey really takes it to a whole new level. Badlands is going to take it to a new level. And this really kind of takes it to a new level. Killer of Killers takes it to a whole new level. And it's really in this segment that does it. The only other thing I'll say about it is that, like Sean, I'm not the biggest animation person in the world. It's not my favorite medium. There are some films, animated films that I really like, mostly from Japan, but not exclusively. And I'm there's some instances where I liked the style, and I think I liked the style of animation the most during this segment more than others. Um, Less so during the Taurus sequence, just kind of similar to Sean. Uh, and there are some moments, where the animation for the Predator looks really good, and there's some moments where I look at the animation of the Predator and I'm like, Cyrax wins. And if anyone, if you know, you know. Uh, but yeah, I felt like this had the best animation. And I think like all of the points that were driven home about the past coming back to haunt us in a really unique way in the Predator series comes through in this segment. And it just almost make me want that segment to be its own film. Like I would love for them to go back to that world and just revisit that world in some way, shape, or form as a whole film.
I agree with you. That expanded would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Missy, what'd you think about this segment? I know you got some notes. Let's hear them.
I have no problem with animation. I like a lot of animated movies. I a lot of times have a hard time with historical stuff, but this whole movie is historical and I liked the characters and I didn't get stuck on that at all. I think the thing I like the best about this segment is the way the two samurai brothers fight together. The way they tag team the predator. And I mean they're fighting, but it almost looks like they're dancing with it. It's really cool. I also love that in each of the segments all the predators look really different. Like in the Ursa one, she calls him the Grendel, the the Grendel monster. Or when we get to the Torres story, it's all it looks more cyberpunky and has like an eye patch and shit. So they all look really unique, and the way they fight and engage with the characters is unique to that predator too. So each one stands out almost as like a mini movie. I feel like the samurai story could be a full movie. So could the Ursa one.
Well said. Ray, why don't you take us to feudal Japan?
Well, I mean, I really like it's hard because everyone's said a lot of good things already. Um, Again, like I said before, it's a testament to good storytelling because in this sequence, there's like no dialogue, and it tells us this complete story, and it does it well just visually, and it gives us the whole story. It gives us the dynamic of these two brothers who, when we first see them, they're kids, they're playful, they're just enjoying themselves. Looks like it was probably dad steps in, and dad's a hard ass, and he's not gonna let him just laze about. They're gonna train, and he doesn't even have a training with like I forget what those training staffs are called, but he's having them train with live swords against each other. So one gets a scar, and and the dishonor of being the one that got the scar. So he then he takes off. He's gonna master his own life, and he's gonna come back for revenge on his brother when it's time. And he does. And then when he does, he get his revenge is fitting. He doesn't want his life. He just wants to scar him like he did him. And then he finds out that they have an enemy that's greater than they expected. And it just so wonderfully tells a complete story without like a big inflated budget, without taking an hour and a fucking half or however long some movies do that have trash stories and just throw crap at us for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you're like an hour and a half, 90 minutes, even just an hour, and you're like, and these it accomplishes it in such a short amount of time. It does it so well that like to me, it's the kind of thing that like I know it sounds bizarre because there's not a lot of dialogue in it, but it does feel like the kind of film that like you could show a screenwriting course, a group of screenwriting students to, and go, you see how they're able to tell the story in such a short amount of time and do it so well. That's what I want you to be able to do. Be able to tell a story. Don't forget that you need to tell people a story. Don't rely on just action or whatever else and go, that's enough. Tell people a story. Because if you got the story down, everything else is going to go with it. And it does it well.
Sean, hit me.
Well, Ray, first of all, I don't think I didn't notice that you just completely slighted my favorite movie, You've Got Mail, when you were talking about these long movies that throw shit at you. Don't think I didn't notice that. So you'll be hearing from the You've Got Mail.com group. Anyway, no, that joke died
If anything,
on the
I was
vine.
thinking of the Transformers movies.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
gonna give that joke a
oh
pass. It's
God,
good.
yes. I would watch You've Got Mail backwards before I'd watch one of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Again, 86, bro. You guys have talked, I can't say anything else about it. What I will say is, where this was my favorite animation style, I wanted to point out that, and I don't think I ever saw the Animatrix, but I think it's similar to, there was a Batman something within the last 5 years animated thing that had multiple animation styles, and a lot of people compared to the Animatrix. I don't remember what the fuck it was. It was a movie. It wasn't a show. And so I think with the Animatrix, like this Batman, all of the animation styles are very different. Like that was part of how they, their mission statement. That's not this. They are different, but it's very cohesive. So where
Yeah.
there are differences, and I say this was my favorite of the animation, I didn't notice. Again, the Torres segment is the most different in my opinion because it looks a little bit more like, I don't know, fucking Toy Story or something like that. Not exactly, but it's closer to that, and the other two are not. But so yeah, I mean, this was, just really good.
As far as this segment goes, I really enjoyed it. The fight choreography is fantastic. The weaponry that the Predator has is pretty fucking cool. He's got a couple new gadgets. You see those spiraling bombs that you saw in Prey before. His combi stick is fucking awesome. That one great scene where, he impales the one fella against the wall, walks up very slowly and fucking confidently, twists the handle, and splits the dude in half. Fucking crazy. Love that kill. It's amazing. I like how he stalked and just, watched everything go down before he finally attacked. And when he does attack, that scene where um, the would you call him a ninja, John?
Yeah,
Sure.
Shinobi.
Okay. Shinobi. I like Shinobi better. As he's looking at the portrait of his father and you see the claws rip through and the predator lunge at him. Great fucking scene. Uh, The Predator itself, or the Yautja anyway, is a lot more slender. He looks more like the Wolf Predator from Alien vs. Predator Requiem, or kind of like Jungle Hunter. So they're not as bulky. This one's a little thinner, a little more agile. Has some really cool fucking gadgets. Again, like this whip chain with the hook on the end that reminds me of like Scorpion. Just a lot of really fun stuff that happens on top of him playing with invisibility and the shinobi finding ways to exploit that and figure out how to see him under cloak. It's a fucking fantastic segment. It's gory as hell. It's just really, really fun. I think we're all unanimous on the third act being a little less impressive. I'm just only going to give a sentence on it and we can pass it around and everybody can give their quick thoughts. Not the best. I do like what the Predator does as far as how he collects trophies. He's not after skulls. He steals the engines of the people that he kills. So he'll hook through the plane, kill the pilot, and yank the fucking engine out and keep the engine. I thought that was pretty badass. Other than that, sad story about a young kid getting drafted off to World War II. It sucks. War sucks. And yeah, man. Missy, we're gonna speed through this one. Yeah, give me a quick thought.
My favorite part about it is that we get Michael Biehn as the old pilot, Vandy. I recognized his voice immediately, and it puts him in the same class as Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen, where they've all been in Alien, Predator, and Terminator movies. And it kind of just takes me back to that childhood place of watching Aliens 100 zillion times.
Fucking A. Ray.
It's not the strongest story, but I'll tell you what, the kid's likable. That character is pretty likable. Like, I found at the end that I was rooting for him pretty strongly in that last sequence. And in this one too. But like, I don't know, there was just something about him, like I think, isn't it called the bullet, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly?
Yes.
yeah.
Which is funny because I mean I understood like the shield, the sword, like that's their weapons, but it feels like even though technically he's shooting bullets, it feels like his strongest weapon is his mind. Because he figures things shit out. Like he keeps doing this thing and he does it in this sequence, he does it in the last sequence where he goes, okay, figure this out. Okay, if this is it, this is a problem, work the solution. Like he's always trying to work a solution for shit, and I kind of liked him for that. I like the fact that he was like this scrawny kid, but he knew if he could figure it out, he can figure out a way to get through things.
His plane was the bullet. I think that's why his segment was called that. She was the shield, the samurai was the sword. His plane was the bullet, not
Mm.
not his weapon. I think you're right. His weapon is his brain.
John, got any quick thoughts on the third?
Yeah, two of them. One, to quote the Film Vault podcast, everything is better with Bean, and this sequence definitely is as well. It was so nice to be back with Johnny Ringo himself. And other thought, I'm not a big fan of aerial dogfight films, even with World War II films, Vietnam, World War I films. I think the only aerial dogfight I'm ever really excited to go back to from a real war is Snoopy fighting the Red Baron in The Great
Nice.
Pumpkin, Charlie
Same.
Brown.
Same.
But apart from that, I didn't have, again, for very similar reasons as with the battle choreography from the Ursa sequence. I actually didn't mind it so much in the Taurus sequence, even though the animation was like Sean. The animation wasn't my favorite out of the three.
Sean, quick thoughts?
I feel like Torres had a lot of heart, and he won me over. Even though, exactly like John said, dogfights. Any movie, when you shift to the aerial fight, you just lose 40% at least of my attention. I will say probably the one I know the best because of growing up with the original Star Wars, that whole ending where they're like skirting the surface of the Death Star. I felt like they were kind of playing with that here. I might be wrong. That's just the only dogfight that, because I've saw it so much as a kid, I can draw upon. Um,
When the special effects weren't completed and they were editing together, they used World War II footage to cut back and forth to while they were cutting that scene. So yeah, your point is right on, Sean.
oh, interesting. Okay, so there you go. So, um, yeah, but yeah, it ended up being also they positioned them correctly, right? In my opinion, because you had like super strong, and whether you like the first or the second, I feel like the first was the right one to kick it off, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Then you get the second one, and the third one maybe being the weakest, but it has a lot of heart. And then it leads into the fourth, and it's Taurus's heart that ends up, kind of pulling everything together. So it just worked out perfectly.
I'm partial to Liberty Bell myself. I love that World War II movie. It's fucking great. But we're done with World War II, and we're moving on to the fourth and final segment of the film, where basically everybody who has killed a predator in the past, and that's another thing we forgot to mention, was at the end of their segments, they kind of fade out to where they're at now, and they're basically like in a prison room, and they've got bombs attached to their necks. I don't know if anybody's seen Deadlock with Rutger Hauer. Same premise.
Battle
Um,
Royale.
Battle Royale, of course. Yeah, there's again the references to that. It's fucking all there for you for fans. Uh, they're let loose into an arena. This is where they meet a new adversary. This is the Grendel King. The Grendel King is a very large hunter. He kind of looks like the one from the first segment, so he is a very tall, very broad, massive predator. Biomask is really cool looking. He's got a cape on, and the cape looks like it's made of xenomorph spines and tails behind him. So something Trachtenberg talked about in an interview was that when Alien versus Predator crosses over, you're not going to be introduced by a film. It's just going to happen. And so we're really looking forward to what comes next as far as Badlands and the introduction of Weyland Yutani and aliens. But that's going to be when that episode happens. But it's already starting to link together. This predator, I think, might be the leader of Bad Bloods, which are just evil predators that kill each other and hunt each other. I don't think this is Yautja Prime, where their entire civilization is. I think this is more like an outpost of hunters. But we have our three main characters thrust into an arena to fight each other to the death. And yeah, here's the great reward for that. Yeah, if you win, now you get to fight me, the Grendel
Yeah.
King, as if they're gonna have any fucking steam left. We get a couple of really cool fights with various monsters and a couple of like underling Yautjas who are soldiers, basically foot soldiers. They don't seem very well armed. They don't even seem very good at fighting. But you get this excellent fucking scene between Ursa and the samurai going at each other, and they're speaking in foreign tongues. They don't understand each other, but the samurai's trying to convey, we need to fight together. We have to get through this together, and this is the only way we're going to survive this. Missy, if you want, go ahead, take it away, and give us some of your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear them.
I just like how, in fact, in that scene, all three of them are trying to communicate and can't, because Torres, he gets it. We have to work together, but he's trying to find a way out. Whereas the other two are like, we either have to fight each other or fight the creature. He's trying to find a way to get everybody out. They all kind of come together in the middle. But my favorite part about it is the design on the Grendel King and his armor. And I want to see more of. I mean, I'm thinking that's what we're going to get in Badlands. I want to see more of their world and these like kind of tournaments and stuff.
John, thoughts on that fourth segment?
This is I think where the film gets into a little bit of dangerous territory with me. And the reason why is, and for those that have listened to our Alien Romulus episode know I'm really not a fan of when continuing films in a franchise do things that retroactively change previous films, and sometimes resulting in devaluing the other film, or taking away the oxygen out of like the previous films. And I feel like this segment, or the whole concept behind this segment, sort of skirts a little dangerously close to that, and from what I understand, I think Dutch is, in this moment, like in one of those cryo chambers. We see Naru in one of the cryo chambers. I'm assuming that Dutch would be as well, and that maybe Danny Glover's character. Although I think maybe this segment takes place, obviously, with the pistol that Torres is given. I think we assume that this takes place before the events of Predator 2. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up seeing in a future, installation, if things are following this logic, Danny Glover taken away as well. There were some elements of the fight scene as well that, especially with Ursa and Genji, that kind of reminded me a little bit of Star Trek Lost Territory, I think it's the fifth one, where they have to fight in the arena. And I was really, really satisfied with it. And I love the design of the Grendel King. But this is kind of where things sort of skirted into that sort of territory of like retrofitting previous films in ways that may not exactly work for me. It didn't do it, but I'm concerned that things are moving in that direction with the franchise. So time will tell.
I think I saw Dutch in one of the tanks. There's like a foggy military looking guy.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
did.
super clear, but I think that's who it's supposed to be.
Yeah, people have been writing online that they've seen him. I didn't see him, but I'll take their word for it.
Ray, I know it's getting late, but I want to hear what you guys say about this one.
No, no, no. I was just intaking what everyone was saying. Uh I like the action sequence. Like has already been said, like I like admit by Missy, like I like the fact that Torres is just trying to figure out a way for all of them to leave and not just end up fighting it. And I think he sees the futility in trying to fight something that massive. There was a point at which when I was sitting there and I thought to myself, because he's like you have this big massive creature that can obviously kick ass. And he's like, I'm gonna watch you fight each other, and then whoever's the winner can fight me. And you're like, and I thought to myself that, and I realized after that, like, in every sequence, there is that moment where you realize, oh, they all of the predators, and I guess it was there in the first movie, but I just never realized it. All of the predators do this thing where they sit back, they watch for a while how these people come go against their own combatants, and then they go, "Oh, look at that! Now I know their weakness. Now I'm going to go in and fight them." And I don't know if it's supposed to be like a criticism of like possibly hunters and hunting culture, or what. But I mean, it has this thing of after when you start to think about it, the predators always do sit back and watch so they can see the weakness of their opponent and then exploit it. Like they don't jump in right away and fight somebody. They go in after they've seen how they go up against someone else, and that's when they come in and go, "Now I'm going to kick your ass with this advanced technology and everything else I've got and my physical prowess." Which does make the characters that make it through these movies a lot more impressive, because you realize that they have come up against something that has already studied them, and yet they have figured out a way to defeat them. And I think that added something to it for me, realizing that. I didn't see Dutch. I mean, I clearly saw I forgot the girl's name from Prey. I clearly saw her, but I don't know about that whole seeing Dutch in the frozen cabinets at the end. But I mean, that's an interesting concept. Like John said, I don't know. It's a little dicey. Uh, it could be dangerous territory to go into because then you have I mean, you do have to go back and like depending on when this is all set, you have to go back and get the I forget what's his name character from the second film and put him in a in a cabinet too, and which kind of defeats the purpose of that film at the end because at the end of Predator 2 he gets thrown the gun by the one as a token of like, yeah, you beat one of our guys. Good job. Like clearly we're gonna let you go. Here's a trophy even of your conquest. And the fact that they would come back and then put him in an ice cabinet so they can deal with it, go have another fight with him later. It's kind of messed up. It kind of defeats the purpose of that ending, but we'll see.
John, thoughts on the fourth segment?
So I want to comment on Ray first, and I'm not in no way am I contesting what you're saying, but they do sit back and watch. But part of why they watch is because my take has always been they're only going to concern themselves with whoever the top dog is, right? So I'm not going to fight.
Mm,
I'll let you guys fight yourselves, and then I want to fight the ultimate fighter, right?
mhm.
It's and then you see that when they bring them to their world, like you fight amongst yourselves, and whoever wins can fight me. It's always like a brackets kind of thing. But it also gives them the unfair advantage of being able to spot everybody's fucking weakness. So in a little bit, it's like, oh, you're a little bit of bullshit there, Predator. Um, and
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it's also like being like going to a fight competition. Let being the guy at the end who the last person has to fight, and watching everyone else in this competition fight against each other just so they can have the title match against you, who's been
yeah,
rested.
that's what I'm
Like,
saying. I agree with that. Like I think they look at I think the predators look at it as like I'm only going to fight the killer of killers. But if you can, step outside of their perspective, look at it and be like, yeah, but you're kind of a bitch because you you're
exactly.
you're you know you're not really going the whole 9 rounds. You're just kind of showing up for the glory round. Um, it would be interesting because bringing all this up makes me think like this movie, all the segments, everybody beats a predator and then they get away. And Predator 2, Predator 1, I don't know the other movies well enough to comment, but they're always about the humans, and which makes sense, right? Why make a movie about somebody that loses their life when you have a movie about the human that, you know, wins out over the predator? But wouldn't it be interesting to have a movie where like the predator's just fucking clean house and there is no nobody left standing? That might be
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's be honest, the survivors that get away on the ship, they ain't getting away. There's a whole
Well,
fucking fleet of these fuckers going after them. They ain't surviving this.
so that's the other thing where like with the Danny Glover thing where it might defeat the purpose of the movie if he's in one of those things, but maybe not because they throw him the gun and like, oh, you're great, but he beat them. So he's somebody that they're going to want to fight based on the whole ethic that like we've just outlined where they always want to fight the top dog, right? So
Yeah.
and with so John, I agree. I don't like the retroactive refitting of stuff. I will say if I didn't see Dutch, if that is Dutch, here's what I to this day I watched Predators finally the whatever number the one with Goggins and Lawrence Fishburne or whatever. I watched a movie with Anthony finally, like let's say 6-7 years ago. I had avoided it because before that movie was made, I knew about the script that Robert Rodriguez wrote that is the kind of impetus for that movie where those people get plucked, they get thrown out of that world, they get hunted, and they find not Lawrence fucking Fishburne, they find Dutch. And I remember saying, wait, but that doesn't make any sense. He gets away. But then a conversation I had many, many moons ago with somebody, they were like, exactly what Anthony just said. Did he get away? Would they let him get away, or did they let him think that he gets away and then they pluck him and take, So I kind of feel like they would eventually collect all of these people that bested their, representatives and assemble them for something like this, some kind of tournament or whatever. So if that is Dutch, I like that just because I still want that fucking Robert Rodriguez script or something like it to be made. And it's one of those things is like that first Predator movie is just so fucking good. It's one of the reasons why I just have not I've had distance from all of the only sequel that until now that I've truly loved and made me want to stand up and put my fist through the wall is Dark Horse Comics 4-issue Concrete Jungle with Dutch's brother. It is. I mean, they use some of it for part two with Danny Glover, but there is no better. That is the best Predator sequel ever. Nothing will ever top it, ever, in my opinion. It's just so fucking good. But I like if we can get there in increments and get like little bits and pieces. So I don't know if that's Dutch in there, that's fucking great. And are they going to have a tournament where it's the girl from Prey, Dutch, a bunch of Predators, and I don't know, maybe Hugh Hefner, Hulk Hogan, you know, maybe Randy Macho Man Savage. Who knows? Do they have Slim Jims on Unta Prime?
Oh yeah.
I just got a couple of notes before we move on to final thoughts. The feudal Japan segment, there is a comic book where one of the guys or a predator is bested, but the protagonist of the story is mortally wounded and is dying, and for some reason gets the wild idea, let me drink the blood of this Yautja because I need to survive. Well, that's how we find out that Yautjas live to be thousands of years old. And also, if a human ingests it, their blood or their flesh, they also achieve basically gain immortality through this. Um, and that story's kind of interesting from the comics because predators are constantly coming back, trying to reclaim their technology that's been harvested over the centuries, and they're always put down by the protagonist guard that has plasma casters and all the shit that they can kill predators with. It's really interesting. And then also in the fourth segment, when they're going through the pods, you see a four-armed creature in there, and it's really cool because that's from the Fire and Stone comic where they basically cross over Prometheus, and you
Yeah.
find out that those creatures are also from a planet that was seeded by the engineers, and they're just as cunning as far as their fighting prowess comes. They're not very they're not technologically advanced, but they're just as strong as a Yautja and can kill them with ease. It's really interesting that those characters. It has something to do with the gravity of that planet, making them very, very strong and able to kill Yautja like nothing. So I thought that that was cool that they kept one of those in there and kind of introduced that character, well, that creature in the pod. um Again, there's so many elements from all the different stacked lore, and I'm glad so much of it made it into this film. uh as my closing thought, I really enjoyed this movie. I really do recommend it to people that are paying for Hulu. Missy, thank you again, I appreciate that.
No problem.
uh but yeah, fantastic watch, highly entertaining. I can't wait for Badlands. That episode, I hope, is going to be just as fun as this one was. And I'm glad I got to show off some of my nerd stuff when it comes to the Yautja lore and mythology. And thank you guys for doing this episode with me. Missy, final thoughts.
I just think it's a really good time, and if you like, especially the original Predator movie, like this just it takes you back. It feels like it made me feel like a little kid again, and it kind of is a good start to the summer, and I'm anxious to to see Badlands too. I think that one's going to be pretty badass.
Cool. John.
Minor reservations aside, best one since '87.
Fair point. Ray.
I really dug it. I think like you said, if you're already paying for something like Hulu. There are movies that exclusively get made by Hulu, get produced by Hulu, get thrown out there. I think the only other place you can possibly see it is on Disney Plus because Disney now owns Hulu. Ironically, I did start it on Disney Plus, but then it kept crashing. So then I went to Hulu and I had no problem. But um yeah, you're not gonna catch this a lot of places. So take advantage. Like take advantage of these a streaming service that you have and see something that's original that they threw out there. You're not gonna see it anywhere else. So plus it's good. Like Prey it's solid. Like you're not going to be disappointed. It's not a waste of time. Like, there's other things that like you take advantage, you try to watch and you spend your time on, and sometimes you regret. And like, this is not one of like something you regret watching. I don't believe at all that most people would regret watching. Like, I think I was watching it and my mother came in the room and then started watching it with me and she just got sucked in. Like she just got into it. And it was funny because I wasn't expecting that to happen because, that my parents aren't super into horror. But I also showed them Prey and they both thought Prey was really good. Like they were like, this is pretty good. Like this is like is like it's a good sequel. Like, and I was like, yeah, that's why I wanted to show you guys this. So it's definitely worth your time. It's definitely worth checking out.
Sean?
I have no final thought, but I want to ask you, Anthony, as I would consider you our resident Alien Predator expert because you read all the Dark Horse stuff. And do you think that there was this question like where Disney now owns Fox, so they get Alien Predator, and then they shut down the Dark Horse stuff, shuttle the comics over to Marvel for pretty much, milk toast results. And I remember having conversations with you where you're like, oh, just all that lore is just gone. Do you feel like maybe Dan Trachtenberg felt the same way and he's like, I'm bringing that shit in?
100%, because whatever's going on in the current comics just it doesn't do anything for me. With the exception of like a couple of new elements with the aliens, with the queen alien and a king alien, et cetera, and how some of that stuff gets changed around. Um, yeah, there's really not a lot going on. Maybe with the exception of that first storyline that we were reading, where the gal's hunting a predator across the cosmos.
That was pretty good, but yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that, like even some of the other stories, they're just not that great. They're subpar, and it happened with the Alien comics with Marvel as well. In fact, I think the Predator comics are only starting to get good now because of the crossovers. I'm hearing great things about the Spider-Man one because it's supposed to be really fucking gory, and basically Spider-Man thinks he's hunting a serial killer, has no idea what he's up against. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I didn't read the Predator versus Black Panther, but I heard something about how they basically introduced the idea that those predators have some of the armor made out of vibranium,
Mm.
just because they're able to harvest it in space. Um, that's kind of cool, but again, to answer your question, there really isn't that much that has happened in the current comic books that alter uh, anything or really add to lore.
No, they had nothing.
Yeah,
I
so
think the alien ones are garbage.
yeah,
It
so it
sounds like they're just playing. It's just like they're doing like what if with Predator and Alien
They're
is
just
what it
all they're
sounds
doing is
like.
now all they're doing with Predators crossovers with every Marvel character, and they've got Aliens Avengers who fucking they're like $9 an issue. Who fucking cares? But
yeah.
I mean, there is all that Dark Horse lore, and it feels to me like Trachtenberg's like, yeah, we ain't losing that. I'm bringing it in.
And I for one am happy.
Yeah.
Happy that they're doing that. And Marvel did start to release compendiums of the original Dark Horse stuff. They just call it quote unquote the original years, and that's what they were doing with Alien and Predator. So I think
Mm.
there's like 3 or 4 volumes hardcover, 200 pages per book. They run about $100 a piece. I don't have any of those because I have a lot of the original trades, and I'm like, do I really want to do this? But the omnibuses that Dark Horse put out in the early 2000s are very small. They're not even the size of a traditional comic book. So it might be worth it to upgrade for fans of that series to get those large compendiums, because the pages are much more blown up. You're able to, look at the detail a little bit better. Um, they also did that with Aliens. I think there's like 5 volumes, again, like 200 pages per book. It's Marvel still finding a way to capitalize on
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's like, hey, you have the option. I did hear a couple things about some things getting censored. I haven't researched it yet. I don't know if they did or didn't. I really hope they didn't and kept all that stuff intact. I would commend them on it, actually, if they were able to preserve that stuff that Dark Horse had put out for years. But yeah, again, this is a prime example of Trachtenberg saying, I am hanging on to this stuff.
Yeah.
And I do want to introduce these ideas. I already have a theory about Badlands, and I'm really hoping that it's true. And, we'll see. But in closing, I thought the film was fantastic. I hope all of you will go and watch it. And I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Sean, get us out of here.
That's the Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
I am Animated Anthony.
I'm John.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Ray.
Good night, America.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of a collection of desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.